Hey everybody, Nicole Atwood here for our last video in the core and pelvic floor health during pregnancy series. So far we've learned how to find and engage our transverse, which is our deepest core muscle, how to find and engage our pelvic floor. We've learned about alignment, and now it's time to put it all together in more compound exercises. So the whole point of training our core and our pelvic floor is to create a reflexive core, to create reflexive muscles. They work when they're supposed to work, they fire when they're supposed to work. So when you bend down and pick something up, your transverse is supporting you. When you're doing exercises, it's moving and working functionally. And especially during pregnancy, you want a reflexive core, you want a strong core, you want your pelvic floor muscles to support and to be strong the way they should be. And so these exercises that I'm about to show you will help you strengthen and create more of a reflexive core. And so I'm going to be showing you 3 different exercises that you can start to incorporate into your daily routine during pregnancy. And these are amazing for postpartum as well, even very initially postpartum, as soon as you feel ready enough to do some very rehabilitative exercises. These are really great, especially to start help healing your rectus muscles, because most women during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy will get some level of separation of the rectus muscles just because baby's growing, tummy needs to accommodate, and usually a diastasis will heal within the first 6 to 8 weeks. And if it doesn't heal in that time frame, then more focused work needs to happen to help it heal. But these exercises that I'm about to show you will help heal those muscles initially postpartum. So I'm going to be showing you, the first move is going to be a bridge lift. And each move you'll see me, I'm going to be up on these pillows in a bolstered position. And now I mentioned that in the core and activation video when I had Haley, who is helping me up in that position. And I want to explain bolstering for a minute because I think there's great value in bolstering during core exercises. We learned all about alignment. We learned correct rib alignment, pelvic alignment, and why it matters. And when we bolster on the ground, this usually allows us to become in alignment lying down. Most of us, when we lie down, we have some level of rib thrust. Lying down, it's pretty natural for most people. And so getting up in a bolster position, raising our head and our shoulders, allows that rib cage to drop into better alignment, which really helps to use the core more functionally during movements because you're in proper alignment. So I will be bolstered during each of these movements, and you can just bolster with pillows at home. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Okay, so this first move is going to be a bridge lift. Now, a bridge lift is such a common exercise, and lots of times it's with a glute focus. And this time, we are really going to be focusing on a pelvic floor and core focus. And so the glutes will still be working, but I want all of your focus and your energy to really be working here. And each of these moves I'm going to show you, we're taking more of a compound approach. So we learned kind of isolation of the transverse, isolation of the pelvic floor, but we don't work in isolation very much or very well. Our body is a system. The core and the pelvic floor work together. And that's what these exercises are doing. Really want to, draw and lift the pelvic floor as you're engaging and drawing in the transverse. And so it's a system that works together. And so that's really the point of these exercises, to get the core system reflexively working together as one. All right, so I'm going to get in this bridge lift and I'm going to go through. Now remember, breath is very important. We learned that. You exhale as you engage. You inhale as you relax your core, and we always move with our breath. Holding our breath is never beneficial. It creates too much tension, and so we never hold our breath. Functional core exercises move with our breathing. So I will cue our breath as I show you these. All right, so I'm going to get down into this bolstered position. So with the bridge lift, you are going to be exhaling as you're pressing up through the heels and lifting the glutes and focusing on the core and the pelvic floor. Now the bridge exercise is a really great exercise to focus more on the pelvic floor contraction. And so focus on drawing upwards and inwards, and you should feel a really good pelvic floor contraction. So our breath, I'm going to be exhaling as I'm lifting up into the bridge and inhaling as I'm relaxing down. So I'll just do a few cueing breaths, and then I'll show you the real-time pace you should be doing these. Okay, so I'm going to inhale, fill my belly, and then I'm going to exhale and push up. Focusing on drawing that pelvic floor up, feeling my transverse working, and then I'm going to inhale, come back down. So one more time, I'm going to inhale, fill the belly, and then exhale, focusing on the core and the pelvic floor, drawing upwards, and then inhale, back down. Now a tip for the bridge lift is make sure you're not rolling into it. And what I mean by that is tucking the pelvis upward and then rolling into the bridge lift. That's not very beneficial, and that's really taking the work out of the core and the pelvic floor. So you want to make sure that you're really using your breath and then using the core and the pelvic floor to lift in one fluid motion upward. So that's your tip for the bridge lift. Now I'm going to show you, because again, core work, slow and steady is best. The slower you go, the better. So I'm going to show you a really good pace for these that you should follow. So that's a really good pace. And the purpose, you're not focusing on how high you can lift into the bridge lift. That's not the point. The point is focusing on how good of a contraction can you get. So don't worry if you're only getting this high or if you're able to get this high. That's not important. You're really focusing on good core and pelvic floor contractions. So that is the first exercise. The second exercise I'm going to be showing you is a heel slide. So a heel slide is a really great move that you can really advance as you're ready, and the heel slide is kind of the most basic version. If you have carpet and it's hard to slide your heels on it, even getting just paper plates or gliding discs to help the movement be really fluid is very beneficial. You don't want to be jutting as you're doing this movement, but having it be very smooth. I can slide pretty well on this carpet, so I'll just be using my bare feet. It's good to do on hardwood or tile or anything that you can move really smoothly on. So I'm going to lay back down in my bolstered position. Now in this exercise, I'm focusing on extending one leg fully and drawing it back up. So I'm going to cue your breath. So I'm going to inhale, and then as I exhale, I'm going to slide a leg out, focusing on drawing in the core, the transverse. It's a very slow movement. And then I'm going to pause at the bottom. I'm going to inhale, and then I'm going to exhale back again, focusing on my core and pelvic floor contraction. And then I can either alternate or stay on one side. So I'm going to again inhale, and then exhale as I slide a leg out, focusing here, and inhale, and then exhale, drawing it back in. Now remember how I talked about as many senses as you can really utilize, the more beneficial to make sure you're getting a good contraction. So I always like a hand on the tummy, because then you can really feel that transverse working, that drawing in sensation, that subtle engagement that's happening. If you have a mirror, you can even look at your tummy, because you really should see, I talked about kind of that deflating sensation a little bit, that transverse drawing in and work in. So I always like hand on the tummy. So now I'll show you in real time a good pace for heel slides. So that's a good pace. It's very slow, but that's the purpose of it. We're really focusing mind to muscle connection here. And the reason I like to break this down into really a three-part movement, you have the exhale, the pause, the inhale, and the exhale back up, is that's because you can really get two good core and pelvic floor contractions on the way down and on the way back up. All right, so that is the second move, the heel slide. Now this third and final move I'm going to show you is a band pull apart. And so I have just this little band. You can buy these at Walmart. It's really great because it gives you really good resistance. And so I'm going to be wrapping this around, and then I will show you the move. So I'm going to get back in that bolstered position again. I'm going to get this around my knees. All right, so you're going to have your legs up right here. Again, I'm going to have my hand on my tummy. Now your breathing pattern for this is you're going to inhale, and then as you exhale, you're just going to create tension in the band by pulling your knees apart. Now again, we're not focusing how hard we can pull apart, how far our knees go down. That's not the purpose. The whole purpose of these exercises is that core and pelvic floor contraction and engagement. You're really focusing on this, and you're not focusing on the leg movement of it. That's just to help the core and pelvic floor. So, good to inhale, exhale as you pull apart, feeling that, and then you're just going to inhale, relax the belly as you draw the knees back in. So I'll show you a really good pace to do these band pull aparts on. And that is the band pull apart. So again, the purpose of all these exercises is to really start using the core as a system, the pelvic floor and the transverse, everything working together to create a strong and reflexive core. And you incorporate these into your routine and you'll really start to see improvements in that. And I will list the description of all the exercises below. Also a suggestion of how many reps to do each day. It's not a lot, so check that out below to know how to really incorporate this into your exercise routine. And I really hope that you learned something new in this segment, that you feel a little bit more connected to your core and your pelvic floor. And most importantly, I really hope that you see the value in taking time to connect to your body. It is so beneficial during pregnancy. You will find so much beneficial aspects during the postpartum period as well. The more you're connected to your body, the quicker you can heal and the more in tune you'll be. So thank you so much for joining me for this series. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook at A Beauty Blooming Fitness. I also have a website, beautyblooming.com, and shoot me any questions you have. Let me know how these exercises are helping you, how they're benefiting you, and thank you so much for tuning in.